There are lots of great weapons in Assassin's Creed Origins, and today I'm going to be going through some of the weapons that I thought were the best in the game and telling you guys how to get them. The game's been out for quite some time now, and obviously I've been able to make judgments on what weapons are my favourite and what weapons I don't like. So this list is going to be based off of my personal preferences. Obviously, if you guys like weapons that aren't on this list, that doesn't necessarily mean they're bad. It just means that I either personally don't like them or haven't got them yet in the game. Anyway, without further ado guys, let's get straight into today's video, in which I'm going to be talking about the best weapons in Assassin's Creed Origins in my opinion. So the first weapon here is quite an obvious pick. We have the Fire Sword. Now, getting this weapon is kind of a spoiler, so if you haven't finished the game yet, then there is big spoilers for the end of the game coming up ahead, so I recommend you skip this section of the video. Anyway, getting this weapon is pretty easy. You get it as a reward from completing one of the main quests in the story. Basically, all you need to do is complete the quest, the Final Weighing. At the end of this quest, you'll be rewarded with the Fire Sword. Now, the sword itself is kind of a spoiler. Even the name is a spoiler in my opinion. It's called Hepzibah's Sword. And that's a spoiler because obviously something's got to happen to Hepzibah for you to be able to get his sword. So I was kind of worried about putting this on the list, but I did give you the spoiler warning. So if you're still here and you're going to complain about spoilers, then what the fuck are you doing, man? You know, the spoiler warnings at the beginning, you can't complain about spoilers. Come on. Anyway, this sword is one of the best in the game because of obvious reasons. It has the On Fire perk, which is incredibly useful against basically all enemies in the game. It also has a very high critical hit rate, which means that you're going to be getting those crits very often and doing a lot of damage to all enemies. It's also incredibly easy to get. All you need to do is play the main story and you'll eventually get this weapon, which makes it one of the most accessible weapons in the game. It's not down to RNG or anything like that. You get the weapon simply from playing a quest, which is always very nice. You can also set your surroundings on fire with this weapon, kind of like with the torch or a fire arrow or a firebomb, which is kind of cool, although you can kill yourself with this, so you gotta be careful. Overall, this weapon is really great due to its high critical hit rate, its fire damage, and also because it's just generally a versatile and fast weapon. It's definitely one of my favorites in the game. I remember when I first saw a video on this, I really wanted to know how to get it, and when I finally got it, it definitely was awesome because it is so powerful. I know most of you that are watching this video probably already have this weapon because you only get it from playing the main story, but I had to put it on this list anyway because it is such a powerful weapon and definitely is one of the best in the game. Next, we have the Conductor of Souls legendary regular sword. You get this from killing the Anubis boss in the Trial of Anubis, or just killing your first boss in the Trial of the Gods. If you haven't killed a boss yet in Trial of the Gods, it doesn't matter which one you kill. If it's your first god, then it will always give you the Conductor of Souls. One of the main reasons why this weapon is so good is because of the health on kill perk. Every time you kill an enemy, if you're low on health, it gives you 15% of your health back, which is incredibly useful, and it also has a high combo multiplier, meaning that you do a ton of damage as long as you don't take damage during combat. This sword is just so powerful, and given the fact that it's a regular sword, it's my favorite archetype of weapon in Assassin's Creed Origins, so it really is a great weapon. The Conductor of Souls makes each fight just that little bit easier because you can drop back and pick off enemies with it and basically just get all of your health back instantaneously. I never really have much fear in combat when I'm using this weapon, simply because it has that health on kill perk to fall back on, so even if you are low on health, you can basically get all of your health back very quickly. This probably is my favorite weapon in the game right now because it has that perfect balance of perks, and I really love the overall design of it too. In my opinion, the Conductor of Souls is a must-have weapon in Assassin's Creed Origins. Anyway, the next weapon we have on this list is the Golden Wolf. Now, many people don't like this weapon. They say it's underpowered and it's disappointing, but I personally really love the Golden Wolf, and I used it for the majority of the game. You get the Golden Wolf from killing the Outsider Phylake boss in the open world, and I've already covered this in another video in which I go over all of the weapons you get from these roaming bosses. I'll leave a link to that in the description. Although, be warned, I didn't pronounce Phylake correctly, and it's just really fucking annoying, and it's a shit video because of it, and it's got loads of dislikes. Overall, the Golden Wolf is a pretty solid weapon. As I said, I used it for the majority of the game, and it's simply because of that health on kill perk. It's basically the Conductor of Souls. It's a poor man's Conductor of Souls. You know, if you didn't get around to doing the Trial of the Gods and you wanted the Conductor of Souls, then, you know, you can get the Golden Wolf. It's got very similar perks, and it's overall a really nice weapon. And you see a trend with my favorite weapons in Assassin's Creed Origins. They all seem to be some form of straight sword, which is kind of weird to see, but it is my favorite archetype of weapon in the game, and there are some really powerful ones. The Golden Wolf also has a very high critical hit rate and also a moderately high critical hit damage, so you'll get a bunch of crits with this weapon, and you'll also do tons of damage. So these two perks pair up very nicely, and obviously the more kills you're going to be getting, the more health you're going to be getting back as well. So I think all of the perks in the Golden Wolf definitely do marry up quite nicely. Many people underestimate this weapon, although I think it's one of the best weapons in the game, especially if you're early on. You can get it at about level 20, so it really is a great and convenient weapon. Definitely recommend getting the Golden Wolf. This next weapon is somewhat of an acquired taste, you could say. It's the Imitation Khopesh, and the reason why it's an acquired taste is because it's a cursed weapon. This means that when wielding this weapon, you only have 33% of your overall health. Now, many people can't deal with this. They die way too quickly because they take too much damage in combat, but if you're a bit of an epic gamer, then you'll be fine with this weapon. The reason why I consider this one of the best weapons in the game is simply because of how much damage it does. Because it's cursed, it does extra damage. Obviously, you have the lowered health to compensate for the more damage that you're able to do, and really, you can one-shot quite a lot of human enemies with this weapon. Not only does it have one of the highest DPS in the game, but it also has bleeding on hit. So if you don't happen to kill an enemy, then if you at least hit them, they will get bleeding, which will kill them very quickly. But it's most likely that this perk won't activate simply because of how quickly you kill enemies with this weapon. You get this weapon for completing the quest Forging Siwa, in which you have to follow this girl around and then save her mum or something like that. It's been a while since I've done the quest, but when you've done the quest Forging Siwa, you get the Imitation Khopesh 100% guaranteed. Overall, the weapon is very powerful, and if you don't mind having 33% health, say if you rarely ever get hit in combat, then I definitely recommend it because of the sheer amount of damage that it does. Next up, we have the Stormblades, which are legendary dual swords. One of the best legendary dual swords in the game, simply because it has the instant charging perk. They are very good. I don't tend to use dual swords an awful lot, but if I were to use some, I would use these. You get the Stormblades from killing the Ra's Mercy Falake boss, and it's a pretty easy task, considering Ra's Mercy is only level 30. So it's a guaranteed drop, which makes them easy to get, but also you get it relatively early in the game. The standout perk for the Stormblades is definitely the instant charging, because they're incredibly fast, but you can also charge them instantly, so you can knock enemies to the ground and then just unleash a flurry of attacks on them. It also has a relatively high critical hit rate, so as you're unleashing all of these attacks, you'll be getting quite a lot of critical hits on the enemies that are on the ground. So you'll basically be able to do a ton of damage with these weapons. If you're a fan of dual swords in Assassin's Creed Origins, then I definitely recommend the Stormblades if you haven't gotten around to killing the Falake bosses yet. They're definitely worth it. I personally don't use dual blades an awful lot, but these were the ones that I were using in the game when I did enjoy dual blades. The next one we have here is the Scepter. Now, this is one of the most recent item drops from the Trial of the Gods. You get it from killing your second god from any Trial of the Gods event. So I killed Anubis, got the Conductor of Souls, and then I killed Sobek when the event went live the other day, and then I got the Scepter as the second reward. This will always be your second reward from any boss in Trial of the Gods. This weapon isn't specific to the Sobek boss, it will only drop for your second boss in Trial of the Gods. That being said, it is a very good weapon actually. My first impressions weren't that high when I first started using it, but it actually is a very powerful scepter. It's very focused on critical damage and combo multipliers, especially because it has that health for critical perk. This basically means that when your health is low, you do more critical damage. This paired with critical hit rate and combo multiplier makes it so you can do a ton of damage with this weapon, especially if you don't get hit during combat. I really didn't like scepters that much, but this weapon definitely is one of the better scepters in the game, along with the Ceremonial Staff. I really do like this one just because of the sheer amount of damage it deals to enemies, especially when you're fighting a large group of enemies and you activate that adrenaline ability. You absolutely tear through people. Overall, the Scepter is a pretty powerful weapon, especially if you do like scepters. It definitely changed my opinion on scepters in the game, simply because of the amount of damage that it does and how quick it attacks and how versatile it is. And it's pretty easy to get. All you need to do is kill 2 bosses in the Trial of the Gods events and you will get the Scepter. I just want to say that these weapons from now on can't be obtained by any set way, such as completing a quest or going to a certain location and collecting it. Now you can only get these from random drops in the open world or from hacker chests, but they are some really good weapons regardless, and they're some of my favourite in the game. These weapons are the Sharkfin, the Viper's Tooth, and the Ceremonial Staff. The best way to get these weapons, I'd say, is by doing the Papyrus Riddles. They basically award you with very, very powerful legendary weapons, and sometimes you can get one of the 3 weapons and many, many more legendary weapons through the Papyrus puzzles in the game. If the Papyrus puzzles offer you no luck and you can't get these weapons through them that way, then I recommend grinding lots of money and buying lots and lots of hacker chests. It's definitely not the best way of going about it, but past the Papyrus puzzles and other random drops in the open world, such as loot chests, there's not really much you can do apart from grinding money and then buying a bunch of hacker chests and hoping to get what you want. It's kind of a shame there's no set way of getting these weapons, that it's all down to RNG, but they are some of the best in the game and they're really, really powerful. Anyway, the first out of these weapons that I found to be very powerful is the Sharkfin, which is a legendary heavy blade. Its most noticeable perk is obviously that it's on fire, and I love on fire weapons in Assassin's Creed Origins. It does a lot of damage, and it has a relatively high critical hit rate, which means you're going to be doing a lot of damage when you're getting those crits. Not to mention that heavy bladed weapons already do a lot of damage in Assassin's Creed Origins. It's also got a nice bit of adrenaline on hurt to kind of round everything off, so if you do take damage in combat, then you're going to get adrenaline back, so you can do an overpower attack. And overpower attacks with heavy bladed weapons do so much damage, it's ridiculous. This weapon definitely has one of the highest damages in Assassin's Creed Origins without being a cursed weapon, and it really is hard hitting as fuck. And it has a nice amount of fire damage to top it all off. It just looks absolutely fucking awesome. This next weapon is one of my personal favourites in the entire game. It's Viper's Tooth, and it has bleeding on it and poison on it. So once you hit an enemy and both of these abilities proc at once, it's going to do tons of lasting damage that will just mean you don't even have to care about that enemy. They're marked basically for death. I normally like bleeding on hit as an ability by itself, but pairing up with poison on hit as well means that not only can you do lasting damage to singular enemies, but it can also affect enemies in a wider radius, because poison on hit actually has a spread. Once you hit an enemy with this weapon, it absolutely melts through their health with little to no effort required whatsoever. It's also quite a hard hitting weapon regardless, so even if the 2 abilities don't activate when you hit an enemy, you're most likely going to have taken a huge chunk of their health out anyway. To top it all off, this weapon also has combo multiplier, so if you get more and more hits on enemies, it'll gradually increase the amount of damage that the weapon does as you hit more enemies. This weapon genuinely is one of the most powerful in the game. It may only have a quality of 89, but don't let that fool you, because the abilities are where this weapon is absolutely amazing. Poison on hit paired with bleeding on hit and then also combo multiplier make for an insanely powerful combo, and it really, really is hard hitting. This definitely is a weapon worth grinding for. Last but certainly not least, we have the Ceremonial Staff, which is a legendary scepter with on fire, combo multiplier, and adrenaline on kill. Now, I do love fire weapons, but that's not the main allure of the legendary scepter. I think the main allure of this weapon has to be its combo multiplier ability, especially when you're using the adrenaline. It's absolutely insane how much damage you can dish out as long as you don't get hit and you keep on hitting enemies. I was grinding a hacker chest for a long while to get this weapon, and when I finally got it, it definitely paid off very well. I'd say this is just slightly better than the Waz Scepter, simply because of the combo multiplier ability that it has. Fair enough, the Waz Scepter can dish out a lot of damage, but with the maxed out combo multiplier ability that the Ceremonial Staff has, it just has that edge in terms of damage. It also just looks really cool as well, swinging a huge fire staff around and taking on huge groups of enemies with ease. Definitely is one of my favourite weapons in the entire game, and it is really something to work towards. I'd definitely say it's worth it if you're going to grind for this weapon. Anyway, that is the end of the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It took a surprising amount of time to make for some reason, just to get all the gameplay and edit it all together and have relevant things to say about each of these weapons. Again, this list isn't 100% all of the best weapons in the game, it's just what I found to be the most powerful. If you guys have weapons that didn't make it into this video, feel free to mention it in the comment section below, it'd be much appreciated. I do videos like this about the best weapons in the game to help you guys out, and I've done videos before talking about the best weapons, and a lot of people have gotten mad because I simply have preferences about what my favourite weapons are. Again, just if you like a weapon and I don't, doesn't mean that it isn't good, just to clarify. Also, I want to thank you guys because very recently we hit 25,000 subscribers. That was my end goal for 2017, and it seems we hit it a month early. So I want to thank you guys so much for the support you've been giving me. I've been getting loads of subscribers, growing a fuck ton, and it's just awesome to see. Thank you guys so much. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.